First story. Today I ducked up by almost burning down my girlfriend's house. We had just moved in together about a month ago and yesterday was our anniversary. We have a pretty awesome relationship. I'm in school, so she doesn't ask me for a full 50% of our housing expenses. She cooks. I clean. Sometimes I'll come home from work and the laundry will be done. Sometimes she comes home from work and the house is in immaculate condition. We take turns paying for stuff, or when we grocery shop, one of us will just take a bunch of shit out of the cart to soften the bill. For the other, I love her so much. And not only do we have a great relationship, it's a solid partnership too. There's give and take on both ends. So for our anniversary, I wanted to do something. She doesn't really take anniversaries super seriously and wouldn't be mad if I didn't do something. But I just like to show her I care. We've both had a lot of expenses this past month, so we were both pretty tapped and didn't want to be irresponsible and go out. So I was thinking, hey, she does the majority of the cooking. Wouldn't it be nice if she came home from work and dinner was already done? I am not a particularly skilled cook. I have maybe 3 recipes in my repertoire to be fair. I've been told I do those 3 things very well. I'm very messy when I cook. And I'm pretty sure my methods give my girlfriend anxiety. I was expecting her home at 5. So the plan was to prep at 4:30 and have the stuff in the oven at 5 so she could shower and unwind before everything was finished. She ended up luckily. And you'll see why coming home at 4:30. So I set to work on dinner. I was making pan-fried pork. And I guess I have a habit of using too much vegetable oil in the skillet. She even told me, "That's too much oil." But I'd made this dish countless times at my old place, and had only ever had one issue when I used way too much oil. I assured her it was good, it wasn't. I got through frying the pork okay, when suddenly the stovetop caught fire. This had happened once at my old place, and I remedied it by removing the skillet, turning the burner off, and blowing out the fire. That didn't work. So I guess she heard me blowing, came out to the kitchen, and saw the situation I was in. She remained surprisingly calm. We tried to smother the fire that didn't work. The smoke detector started going off, raising the anxiety of the situation. She called her brother and mom, who lived 2 streets over. They came over with a fire extinguisher and sprayed that son of a beach down. So basically, I ruined our anniversary. I almost burned our house down. There was a huge mess of scorched oven and fire extinguisher. The whole house smelled like smoke. Of course the food was shot too. I know fried pork garnished with extinguisher sounds really great and all, but I didn't want to take any chances. So we ended up going out anyway. So yeah. Today I ducked up by trying to do something nice, but I'm stupid and almost burned the house down. Now I'm here, cleaning this whole oven down. This has been a beach. Upside. This oven has probably never received this deep of a clean before. Too long didn't read. Stupid boyfriend tries to make dinner for him and his girlfriend's anniversary. Doesn't know how grease fires work. Almost burns down the house. Buy a fire blanket. Hang it on the other side of the kitchen from the stove oven so you don't have to reach into the maw of hell to get it if there's a fire. Turn off the gas or electricity on all of the elements. Cover your hands with the blanket. Place it over the pot, don't throw it. Make sure there's no big air gaps. Have an extinguisher in your house at least. Better than a blanket made of cicadas. Dude. On your anniversary, you give her the heat of your passion, not the heat of a fire in the kitchen. Last night got hot. Just not how I meant it to, man. Second story. Today I ducked up by faking my death to my former roommate. As a prank. In August, I found out who my college dorm's roommate will be. The name was normal enough. When I did email him to say hi, I could feel something was wrong. I later looked him up on Facebook, and there was his profile picture, a pony from My Little Pony. He's a brony. I kinda wanted to scream, but I didn't, and held back my judgment. Skip forward a few days and I meet him. He's about 6 feet tall, and very fat. I used to weigh 280 pounds. And I didn't look like that. But again, I held back judgment. He seemed cool enough. We hit it off surprisingly well. Same music. Same video games. All that. Later that night, I get invited to play poker with him and a few freshmen, sophomores, etc. He doesn't even go to the college I go to. Yet he's at the college's dorm too, which confuses me. The poker game was pretty fine. But then it was down to me and him with our hands. I had a pretty decent hand. He had a hand that would be decent but lower. We showed our hands. And once he realized I won that hand, he got extremely angry. Yelled at me and everyone else. Knocked over his chips. And ran out of the room. He stayed out of the room for 20 minutes. Then came back in. I also realized he is the stereotypical neckbeard fat. Strongly atheist. Brony. Furry. Video games. Nice guy. Loves Minecraft and YouTube videos about it. Hates Justin Bieber. All that jazz. The first 2 weeks before college started I didn't mind him because my parents were there the first 2 weeks. So I didn't have to be around him all the time. He also realized I don't talk very much about myself or anything in general. And then proceeds to talk almost all the time for hours. He said you can tell me to shut the duck up, but goddamn, I am afraid of his anger. Fat guys are strong. Skip forward to the recent days. He invited me over for Thanksgiving. Nice gesture. And his grandpa is a pretty cool guy. I met him 2 months ago or something. But living in an RV. On a farm. Miles and miles away from the city for an entire weekend. Plus, I was thoroughly getting annoyed with him. I woke up with him staring at me. He takes hour-long craps. I nearly shit my pants one night. He smells weird. Not bad. But weird. He's always claiming to be a nice guy. He frequently complains that he doesn't have a girlfriend. He is the sorest of losers in video games. Board games. Card games. Any type of game. He farts with no remorse. Really shit-smelling farts. I could keep going on and on. I made up a lie. My parents are coming to New York for their 25th anniversary. And they want me to hang out with them. It worked, but because I told him the Monday before Thanksgiving. He yelled at me. He left, and he doesn't know this. I moved out of my old room. Up into my new one with the RA's approval. They realized how annoying my roommate can get. I moved out all my stuff at 3 a.m. on Sunday. When he arrived on Sunday at around 1 p.m., he texts me, "Did you move out of hall?" I don't respond. Because I am genuinely sick of talking to him. He seems to get worried. But I honestly don't care. A friend later on comes into my room and we're just hanging out. He asks, "Does he know you're in a new room?" Well, he doesn't. I told him I wasn't responding to his texts or emails or anything. My friend who doesn't have Facebook joking says to write a fake status saying that I am dead. He then says never mind. Because everyone will see it. I get this sudden urge of confidence and say that I can make a status that only specific people can see. And I make the status. It works. Because a few hours later my roommate comments on the status with extreme concern. I was laughing my ass off. Smiling like a ducking idiot. It's now 11 p.m. and I need to sleep. Since I am ducking exhausted from moving all my shit. The worst part of this is that my parents and extended family are very religious Muslims. They never joke about death or bad things. Example. My brother once made a poor drawing on Photoshop. The hair looked pretty bad. I mentioned it was pretty bad. He said, "Yeah, it's like he has hair cancer or something." I laughed. It's funnier with the exact context. But this was years ago. My mom comes in and yells, "Hey, you don't talk about cancer." As far as I know, hair cancer doesn't exist. I wake up at 6:30 am. Thanks to my phone's alarm. I see a notification, a missed call from my mom. I emailed my dad last night that I switched rooms to a single room and the rate for it will be higher. I assumed mom was going to ask why I moved. My parents live in the Middle East. This voicemail missed call was at 3:30 am my time. So I shower. Eat a granola bar. And then open up my computer. An email from my dad. Cool. I imagine it has to do with moving into a single room. Spoiler, it wasn't. I read the email. My dad was ducking pissed. You don't joke about this. I don't trust this Facebook bullshit. He attached a screenshot of my uncle's phone where he can clearly see the status, along with my roommate's comment. At the top, my uncle received a message from my cousin with "I hope Waldo's 53 is okay." The rest of the message was cut off. I couldn't believe this happened. My dad was then calling me over and over on my phone. He stopped after a while. I checked my voicemail. My mom was crying. She thought I was actually dead. She said she was getting phone calls from my extended family, who apparently all read my status. My mom was crying on the phone with relief when I finally picked up and she realized I was alive. My dad was yelling. My mom was crying. And my brother was laughing. And I was in big trouble. I can't imagine what will happen to me when I get back home. My brother's Facebook was flooded by both the cousin from above and my roommate. No idea how he found my brother's Facebook was concerned. My brother just didn't respond. I don't think my roommate knows I am alive. If he thinks I am dead, I am definitely going to pull a long con on this one. It'll be hard though. 2 of his friends live on the same floor as me. And those friends are my friends too. But I learned some valuable lessons. Don't ducking use Facebook security settings. They suck. Don't have your extended family on Facebook. They'll ruin your prank. Don't steal a prank idea from a friend who might be crazy. And don't kill yourself. This is the most frustrating, relieving lesson I learned. About a year ago, I desperately wanted to kill myself. I truly believed no one cared about me or my existence. But this happened. My mom was crying. People were concerned. A little shocking, honestly. I don't want this to end on a sad note. So here's the screenshot of my uncle's phone. Third story. Am I the a-hole for sending my husband an instructional video? Background. I, 27 female, have been with my husband, 33 male, for 6 years. We've been living together for 3 years and married almost a year ago. We have a 14-month-old daughter. The home we live in is the one he bought by himself while we were dating. He works 60 hours a week at a very physically demanding job and pays 90% of our bills. I work part-time from home and go to school online. I take care of our daughter and majority of the chores during the day. And husband takes over when he gets home, so I get a break. My husband is, for the most part, a pretty clean guy. Before I moved in with him, I was always impressed by how neat and clean his house was. But when we married, it's as if he forgot how to clean up after himself and leaves it to me. Just to list a few of my main pet peeves. He lets his dirty clothes pile up behind the bathroom door to the point where it's hard to keep the door open. He leaves his dresser drawers open after he takes clothes out and doesn't shut them, which usually leads to our daughter ripping all the other clothes out of the drawers. He leaves empty water bottles or juice bottles everywhere. Used napkins sit on the floor next to the trash can. And the list goes on and on. I know these aren't huge messes, but when I have to clean them up multiple times a day every single day, it can be overwhelming. I've talked to him about it before. Saying something like, "Hey, can you try to recycle your bottles when you're done with them? I've found a lot around the house lately," as polite as I can. And each time he responds with, "Yeah, I will. But if you see it, you could at least help me out a bit and clean it up." Then he continues and I bring it up again. Which leads to a larger argument of how he works so hard to provide for our family, so cleaning up after him is the least I can do in return. I've tried just ignoring whatever mess he made to see how long it took for him to just clean it himself. But he will just ignore it and add to it and never ever pick up after himself. For whatever reason, this past weekend I reached my tipping point. So while he was at work, I filmed a bunch of how-to videos, compiled them together, added background music and credits, and sent the video to him. Clips such as how to throw out used toothpicks, how to put dirty laundry in the hamper instead of on the floor, how to replace a roll of toilet paper, and everything else he has seemingly forgotten how to do since we married. His response was that I'm a petty a-hole, and I should be willing to clean up after him for all that he does. I said I married an adult, not a teenager, and he is perfectly capable of picking up after himself, as I have plenty of other things to worry about. Now he's not talking to me, and I'm kind of starting to feel bad about it. Am I the a-hole? Edit to clarify some things when I say he comes home and takes over so I can take a break. I mean, this lasts for about an hour, and by break this is when I get most of my cleaning cooking done. He comes home. Goes outside for a smoke break for about 45 minutes. Comes inside to shower. Plays with our daughter for a bit, and then lays on the couch on his phone while I do the rest. He does not cook. He does not clean in general. No diaper changes. And he feeds her daughter once in a blue. I didn't have extra time to make this video. It took about an hour in total, and I used my actual break time between work and school while my daughter slept to make this. iMovie isn't hard. You're not the a-hole. He is taking your cleaning for granted, and it should be a joint effort. Also, he needs a sense of humor. If my SO or wife sent me a video of how to videos, I would find it somewhat entertaining, but also be more aware of my behavior around the house. Everyone sucks here. He needs to not be a disgusting slob. You need to stop wasting time with petty videos. You both need to deal with the issue in your marriage. You fundamentally disagree with the distribution of workload you each are shouldering. You each think the other has it easy and are starting to resent them. Husband thinks God. I work 60 hours a week. Busting my ass. I come home exhausted while she sat on her ass all day. And she has the gall to nag me about some dirty clothes. You. God, I am juggling the household. Taking care of the baby. And going to school. And yet my partner just generates even more work for me, and then has the gall to say I should clean up after him after all he does. You'll need to fix that shit, OP. Because it's that slow resentment of each other that kills marriages. This is word for word our thoughts towards each other. We have a long way to go in the communication department. If I try to bring up an issue with him, he takes it as me messing around and responds defensively when I was just trying to open up a conversation. But sometimes the way I word things comes off the wrong way. Even with this video, I was trying to be funny about it so he wouldn't take it as me beaching. But I came off as petty still. I agree you're a petty AH, but honestly sounds like you have to be because he is acting like a child. Doesn't matter how much he does for you. You do a lot for him as well, and it is basic human decency to clean up after yourself. You said it perfectly, you married an adult, not a teenager, and he needs to step it up. We have a rule that if it takes less than 2 minutes you do it right away, then it's done. I like the 2-minute rule too. My point towards him is that he was able to do these things plus work before we got together. So while I'm okay with taking over the bulk of the cleaning, why can't he keep up with simple things like these? Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.